Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our reaction interview for Survivor 48, Episode 3. And I want to start this off by sending a message to Mary. Mary, I'm sure you watched our review from last week where I said that I would rather Kevin stay over you because I thought he was better television than you. I'm sorry from every part of my heart because you may actually be better television than anybody on this show at this point. I love your gameplay in this episode.
So good.
I still question whether or not anybody on this Luva Green tribe is that great, but I loved you in this episode. You were incredibly entertaining. You basically putting on, like, I know Wu had the whole in Survivor Kageyana, I'm like Sonic the Hedgehog. So you are like Amy Rose from the Sonic the Hedgehog universe, putting on the speed shoes and running through the jungle looking for an idol.
I loved everything about Say and Mary and their relationship or this whole episode. I'm like, why can't you ladies just work together? You're both heavy game players. If you guys could just squash your differences and find a way to come together, I would be elated. The minute that Mary got up at Tribal Council and was like, actually, Jeff, I have something. And Say was like, yeah, that's my girl. I mean, but not really. I was like, oh my goodness. No, yes, she is your girl. You guys can figure it out. It was just so refreshing to see two gamers playing each other the way that they were, and both of them being like, I love playing with this other person. This other person is such a gamer, like I'm a gamer. I am having a thrilling time. It's making me as a viewer have a thrilling time.
I will say this, and I'm saying this just from the vantage point of entertainment, but we're here for drama. I've already said personally I'm rooting for Joe, but if we want entertainment, a final tribal council where we have Say, Mary, and then David in the middle of all of it being like, hey, let's talk about me. Like, that would be quite possibly the greatest final tribal council known to mankind.
I just feel like tinfoil hat. If these two ladies can just figure this out and work together, I feel like both of them would feel really satisfied if they got to the finals together and they were up against each other to go for the end. Like, I just feel like they would feel much more fulfilled instead of going to the end with somebody who kind of floated their way to the end. I think both of them would just feel so much more fulfilled.
This is just an incredible episode of Survivor. I think really great editing, really great confessionals, good storytelling from both Say and Mary. Yes, there are a lot of debates to be had about this iconic tribal council, and we are going to have those debates.
Yep.
Buckle up and be sure to hit that subscribe button because that is the greatest way to make sure you do not miss any more of our coverage throughout Survivor 48. I think entering the tribe swap that's coming up now, we are in a really interesting spot with a lot of big personalities and a lot to discuss.
We're also going to be covering Big Brother this summer, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and stick with us. Also, if you want to help support us further so that we can continue to bring you these videos every week, you can join our Patreon for more Survivor discussion. We'll have a link for you below. And also, we are covering over there exclusively right now The Pit, which is airing on Max, and coming up is going to be the final season of Bosch Legacy. We're going to be covering that over there as well. It is the only place that you can get those videos. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And I'm just going to put the hard hat on now because I'm ready. I am ready for the comments on this take where nobody on this green tribe is that good. Like, let's be honest here for a moment because Mary, incredibly entertaining. Also, socially, for whatever reason, she's on the outs of this tribe. Like, that can't be a coincidence. She must have done something to put herself there. Maybe she'll recover from it. Say, in the immediate aftermath of this past tribal council, like, at camp, is acting really upset at these other people, even though they voted on her side and they kept her and they went along with this plan of hers to go after Kevin. They just did something that was largely for you, Say. I do not think this is the time to be there questioning loyalty. And if there is a reason behind what Cedric did, which we will get to, I just feel like she really didn't do herself any favors there, where Cedric may be like, okay, if you're already doubting me now, like, why am I going to want to go to this game a long time with you? You're too combustible.
Okay, so my tinfoil hat is if for whatever reason they were going to have to like go up against the three of them. And I know that, we saw the preview and what's coming up or whatever. But
yeah,
if it was just the three of them going back to camp again, I feel like Say and Mary would have worked themselves out together and just dealt with Cedric, because what was going on at this tribal council, Say really got her eyes wide open now at this point, where she gave a really great speech where she was just like, Cedric, I have been honest with you about everything. We've just learned that Justin lied to you, and you're telling me he's your number one because he just happens to be the first person that you were talking to. I have built an actual loyalty with you. He has just lied to you. Like, going forward from there, where Cedric, he ended up going the right way and was like, okay, I'll keep you around. Right way for me as a viewer. I want to watch Mary and Say over Justin. But for Say at this point, I wouldn't be trusting Cedric at all. Like, Mary and her seem to have had some differences, mostly over that very first tribal where Say's name came up. But that is the only thing that Mary has done. There is now more people that have put out Say's name or have gone against Say in a way that's much more meaningful than anything Mary has done. And I feel like the minute that Mary was like, Jeff, I have something, and she was like, yeah, that's my girl, but not really. I think that they really did come together in that way.
This is sort of my headcanon now, where I'm thinking what would just be so fun. And it is the idea of these two women working together, because if we are going to go into the, let's put out the magnifying glasses and analyze the edit here, I think it's very interesting that we had a lot of confessionals about the two of them talking about how much they respect each other as players. And that's not often something you get when you're talking about rivals within the game, where it's very much, okay, we're both really smart, really competitive. We just don't know if we can coexist for that very reason. But I adored the immunity idol search that was going on here. It was very much sort of, Boston Rob is coming in.
Nope.
Hey, you guys gotta watch and make sure this person doesn't get the idol. Like, it was very reminiscent of some of the stuff that he's done, but just having Mary sprint through the jungle, living her life, loving it, following her around. I mean, there was a big case. It's like, if you're one of these other guys, you just go out and try to find the idol at that point, because they are just so messing with each other.
Yeah, I feel like I probably would have done that if I was one of the guys at this point, to be like, well, they're busy with each other, so we'll go take a look for it as well. But it was so entertaining. I think Mary made a really smart bluff with her move, where she came back and was just like, I'm going to take a swim. I'm just going to not look like I'm bothered, like I'm not worried. And maybe they'll think it's because I have the idol. And it worked perfectly. It really put Say on edge. She really didn't know what was going on. She really felt like maybe that was the case. Mary was playing it perfectly, where she was just kind of like, whatever, I'm on the bottom. Whatever happens, happens. This is going to play out the way it's going to play out. She's not giving nearly enough information, just enough to make it that Say is going to be very worried. And the thing that made me smile the most at the whole end of this, at the end of Tribal, when Cedric is like, you two just, if I'm going to keep you, you guys have to work together. And after Justin left, I saw Mary put her hand on Say's back and kind of be like, hey, it's going to be okay. And Say was like, thank you, Mary.
I think that there's some seeds that are planted here. We'll see if they turn into a tree. But I will say that the biggest thing I give Mary credit for at this point, above all else, and I know it may sound silly, but knowing to play your shot in the dark, because it's something that, you want to hold on to for as long as humanly possible in this game, because you never know what's going to happen. But her being like, I think I did something really smart by making Say paranoid. And, that did work. Say was very paranoid. Like, the only reason she voted the way she did is seemingly because Cedric really sort of pushed her in that direction. But Mary being like, okay, I'm going to play this. And yes, she got lucky. But you know what? Look, is a part of Survivor. We had a whole, we'll get to this more later, but we had a whole Squid Game challenge throwing dice in the middle of this journey that was entirely luck-based.
Yeah, and I think for Say, she's in a kind of tough position because she did really trust Justin and Cedric. And after the last tribal council where she's like, man, the votes didn't fall the way that I necessarily thought they were going to. Instead, they fell in a way that I did not need to use my idol, but I got really pushed into using my idol. Yeah. Something's not adding up the way that it should add up. It's just, I think things are going to be quite different for Say going forward.
I now have to express a great deal of frustration with the men on the Luva tribe. And we'll start with Cedric because he's the one that's still in the game. But okay, we know at this point what the situation is. Mary has played her shot in the dark. Yes. And ultimately she cannot vote because she played the shot in the dark. Yes. We know that Justin can't vote because of the journey. Right. So Probst comes back with these votes. And of course, Probst is off somewhere, I don't know, dancing around his room and popping champagne that his crazy twist produced a good tribal. But ultimately, there's not a lot of votes that come out here for Mary, which do not count. And this is not a situation where, I know on certain episodes, if somebody gets voted out of the game, actually voted out, they don't show all of the votes at Tribal Council. But in this situation, because votes were being negated, they're going to show all the votes. So you already know, okay, there's only a couple of votes here. I am but Dr. Cedric. What do I do in this position? Okay, so Mary played the shot in the dark. So on the revote, okay, I know she's not voting. Justin just went on a journey. Yes. Just went on a journey. If there's only a couple of votes, can't you assume that one of them is probably Justin at this point? So you're then on the revote. You're going to vote for Say? I understand what some of the problems here are, but you have to think that Say is probably the other person voting, and Say is not going to vote for herself. At this point, I don't know what it is you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like he's like, man, Justin's my guy. Loyalty. I just can't write his name down no matter what is going to end up happening, even if it's all going to go to rocks and I'm going to go home.
It is so insane what he does in this moment, because eventually, and I'm sure maybe it's a spot where this vote was so weird and the rules were so hard to figure out because Justin can't vote in this instance, that maybe he didn't know it was all going to come to a situation where he was going to be the only person voting. Yeah. But yeah, I think Say made a very good case, and good on Cedric for trying to arrange something for the three of them moving forward. But it's kind of like, at the same time, Cedric, you've already stepped in it now with Say, where she knows that you were willing to get rid of her, and you have still been like, okay, I'm gonna change my mind now. It is you played this wrong in so many ways. You may be going back to butt doctoring sooner rather than later, Cedric. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that seeing Mary put her hand on Say's back and Say being like, thank you, and Cedric being like, you two need to work together. Yeah. None of that is working out for Cedric because Say is a really strong player. Mary is playing really hard as well. And now Say knows that Cedric doesn't really have her back. She had to be there basically begging, being like, guy, I've told you the truth about everything. You're still throwing your vote towards this guy who lied to you. Like, how is this happening? I don't understand. How much more loyalty do I need to show you?
This is just a parade of face palms of one after the other. Okay, so it's like Cedric, Say after the last tribal council coming back, acting the way that she did. Mary for the start of this game. And now Justin, you were getting the very rare, I'm taking off the hat for this one. You were getting the very rare Captain Picard double face palm for what you were on Survivor. You were do you know you were playing a game where in order to stay in the game, you have to make an argument? And here is your argument. Well, we were here from the beginning. It would be great if we stay. I'll make you a pizza. Shut up about your pizza. This is the worst argument I've ever heard. I love pizza. So bad. But you have no fight. Like, where was the fight? You deserve to go home. And I'm not even saying this because of anything else beforehand. Yeah, you weren't the best television in the world, but it's just like, if somebody is making that much more of an argument than you, I mean, I will say this, I would be much more worried about Say in the game than you because it seems like she's playing a lot harder. And if you want to be in the game with somebody who's not playing that hard, maybe that's a good thing. But just from a personal standpoint as a viewer, I don't want to watch somebody who's not going to make that much of a fight. You did a really lame job at this tribal council, and I'm sorry, I'm not sad you're gone.
No, I feel like he was doing the least at this point, that he was just banking on the fact that they had a good connection and that's good enough. And it's like, well, does Cedric want to win the show or does he want to win at the friendship game? Like, I think Justin needed to go. That argument was trash. Say's argument was perfect. It was really good. It was solid. Do you want to go with someone who's lying to you, or do you want to go with somebody who's been telling you the truth and has been loyal to you? And I've proven it time and time again. You haven't been loyal to me, but I have been loyal to you. So, you know, who are you really going to go with? The guy who just wants to make you a pizza, or the person who's been loyal to you that could actually get you to the end of the game?
Yeah, and this was just also really, really terrible on Justin's part to not tell Cedric in advance about him not having this vote. Because if they wanted to orchestrate some sort of situation where the two of them could stay, and Say could end up going in the midst of all of this nonsense, they could have had some sort of discussion in advance of all of this. Cedric could have still cast a vote for Say in that particular moment. Then if Mary ends up playing the shot in the dark and it works, Say ultimately could have ended up going in that scenario without any of this other funny business even needing to happen. But Justin, you effectively played yourself because you didn't want to tell somebody that you lost at a journey. Not even that you won. I understand keeping things a secret that way, but that you lost.
Yeah, it was a really weird move. I mean, the problem is that the two of them, he's lost his vote. And they're partnered. Cedric only has his vote. Then it's like, okay, well, then what do you do with this? Because you have Mary, who's, you know, at the bottom, and can you trust her? Who knows? And you've got Say, and you don't know. Like, these two women were just such at each other's throats that you don't really. Cedric was in kind of a no-win situation.
Such a great tribal. Such good fun. Okay, Jeff. You did good.
Oh!
I will praise you. You do good. I will also praise you as executive producer for, and we'll get into the other tribes, but I have to spend a moment to discuss the blindfold challenge, where maybe some people don't like it. I love it. Here's the biggest reason. This is a Survivor challenge I could do really well at because I already can't see. I'm legally blind. I am like Daredevil. You put me in this challenge, I'm like Joe. I'm just running through it, sensing everything around me. I am dominating. They can keep me, and I will suck at the next challenge, and they will vote me out at that particular point. I love the blindfold challenge.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so kudos to you. Okay. Let's get into these other tribes who still have not gone to tribal council 3 episodes in.
Okay, I want to talk to David for a second here. I do not know what is going on with you and your girlfriend at this point, now that the show is airing, if you are together, if you are not together. But this was the first time since watching and seeing David where I feel like David's at an 11 all the time, like he's playing a caricature of himself, where we finally got him to open up, where he's like, yeah, you know, sure, I look like a Chad and, you know, whatever's going on, but I'm financially in a really tough situation where I'm living in a trailer, you know, in front of my dad's place, and it's really hard. And I have a girlfriend who's 32 and she wants to have 4 children, so she needs to get started on it now. And I want that with her. But because I can't financially support 5 people, well, 6 people, including him, then she's told me she's going to leave me if I don't come home with that $1 million because she wants to be a stay-at-home mom. I understand that being a stay-at-home mom is a full-time job, but at the same time, if you want your children with David, and this is how much money David makes, then you make concessions for that, where you're like, okay, maybe we don't have 4, maybe we have 1, and we find a way to make it work where maybe I work part-time instead of full-time. It feels very much like, David, you don't matter, that she is going to want to be with whoever is going to provide her the opportunity to have 4 children, and that's her job, is being the mom and being at home. Because if you really love somebody, you can live in a trash bin with that person and it doesn't matter because you have that person. The minute that he was like, if I don't come home with that money, she's going to leave me. I was like, I really hope you don't win that money. And I hope she leaves you because you can do better, David. It's the first time that I really was like, David, I really want to root for you in life, but I don't want you to have this money because you're going to end up with somebody who doesn't deserve you.
I have been in a real crisis with David for 3 episodes now on this Siva tribe, because if you have watched our channel for a long period of time, you know I don't root for Survivor Chads. It's not my bag. It's not something I do.
No.
And yet,
Team Guyana.
Okay, I find myself rooting for David, and I don't know why. I think it's just that he is really, really weird. He's really awkward. I mean, it is funny that we hear in this episode Mary talking about committing to a bit when you sort of mention in many videos that David is doing a bit that's out there, and that may very well be the case. But I think a lot of it with me and David comes down to the fact that I think both of us are pretty much the same age. And I think that he is somebody who, despite what he looks like, you know, people make a lot of assumptions based on that. And I can't relate to being a Chad. I'm sorry, I'm not a Chad. But I can relate to the idea that people look at me and they think that all I care about are like comic books and video games. And yes, I care a lot about video games, but I also really love basketball and I really love these other non-nerdy things. So I understand this idea of people not taking you at face value. So I really find myself interested in David, at the very least, as a Survivor character. I don't think he's going to win just because I think that big physical guys, you're always going to get targeted soon after the merge, regardless of everything else. But here's the thing with what you're talking about with the girlfriend, where it's like, I agree with you in terms of what you were saying. Now, when it comes to the game, here's the thing, David. I'm struggling with this. It's like, is airing all of your relationship dirty laundry on this show so that you can tell people where you are at financially? This is basically telling everybody how much you need the money.
Yes.
And they may think that this means that you're going to stab all of them in the back.
Well, also it means that there's a good argument for him at the end, where there's a lot of like, man, I really want to start a family. You know, I'm living in a trailer that's outside of my dad's house. I have this girlfriend that I love and we really want to have a family. This money will make that happen for me. If I don't get this money, my girlfriend's going to leave me and my whole family is going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's a really heavy argument for people to be like, maybe we'll just give him the money.
I have honestly no idea what's going to happen at this Siva tribe in the event they ever go to tribal council. And I'm guessing with the swap coming, somebody's going to be going to tribal council sooner rather than later. But it's like we have David, we have Mitch, who's getting closer to Charity, who seemed like she was on the outs at some point, but maybe Mitch getting closer to her is helping to some extent. And then we have Team Guyana of Kyle and Camilla, but Kyle's also close to another couple of people. Like, I do feel like out of these people moving forward, Kyle is probably the person I feel the best about because he has this alliance, which it feels like, not that it's secret, but it feels like not everybody is thinking about Team Guyana all the time, but he also has this immunity idol that really he has Camilla to thank for.
Yeah, he has a lot of power in the game right now. It's all about, can he balance being in these two different alliances plus Team Guyana? Is he able to balance all this out when it actually comes time to go to tribal, sort of thing, that who's going to feel betrayed in this? Because he's got his hand in all the pies. So at some point his hand is going to have to be revealed, and that's where it's going to be Betrayal City.
Okay, let's move to the Purple Tribe now, because I think here's the thing. If and most likely when Joe does get voted out of the game, I'm going to feel for every single person who works on Survivor who's going to be told off by like 95% of the fandom, because he is going to be, I think there's a lot of strategic Survivor fans who are, you know, they're going to pick other people, but I think a lot of just like either casual fans or people who just want to relate to people, they're all going to love Joe. And I really love Joe. I don't think he's going to win, but I'm rooting for him. But it's just like everything he does, from building the bonfire on the beach to the way in which he talks to all of these people. Like, how can you not like this guy?
I like Joe, but this episode really made me root for Star.
Yeah.
And I think that I always want to root for the underdog of the situation who's really trying her best to find a way to have some sort of footing. She is so very obviously at the bottom of this tribe that while Joe is building this big bonfire and now he's got it lit, they're all at the beach hugging and hooting and hollering, and Star is not even there. And I was just like, okay, was this like a shot that was put together where maybe Star was on her way, or she just actually wasn't included or felt that she couldn't be included? And seeing them there on the beach and her not being there, I was like, I don't feel good about this tribe anymore. It feels like she's not included. And that's why when we ended up getting sort of to this situation where, you know, Eva's trying to talk to her, Star doesn't trust her, obviously, and then takes that information to try to move herself up, I was like, good for you. Like, I said this last week that I felt like Star should figure out that cipher by herself, and I feel that she can. She has time to do so, and she will do it. That's how I feel about her. I think she's fully capable of doing this on her own and not needing the Thomases of the world to come in and muck it all up for her.
Don't rely on Thomas.
No, Thomas is really like rising the villain ranks.
Yes, he is.
Survivor, but this episode made me really like Star even more than I already did. And part of it is that she is trying to get her way out from the bottom, even though there are all these other alliances, and she's clearly not part of it, but she's really trying to make some cracks in there. And I think that it's working. And I hated not seeing her on the beach. It hurt my heart for her.
I think Star is going to be okay. I do think Star, pun intended, is a star on this episode because, I felt a lot for her in that moment, but I appreciate her awareness and wherewithal to sort of take advantage of a situation that she's starting to realize is not good. Because let's just say this like it is. Like what Eva did with the whole bracelet or whatever, it's really sweet and all of that, and I'm sure Joe will really appreciate it. It's a terrible move to do this in Survivor where you're basically
in front of people.
Yes, to come up and be like, you know, you're doing this great thing for us, so I want to really extend a solid branch. Like everybody probably already knows that the two of them are close, but going to this level in front of everybody, it is just really, really bad because you have this California Girls Alliance of Thomas and Shaheen, and now they're even more like, oh, we really have to get rid of Eva because she's going to cause all these problems. And then you're adding on top of this now, Star being very aware of the fact, oh, why is Eva coming to me now? This is a little bit dodgy, and so I'm going to use this to my advantage. This is what you should do if you're on the bottom, is just sort of lay a little bit low, don't ruffle a lot of feathers, but just take advantage of things when those things come to you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Star is doing. She is taking advantage of this Eva situation and the information that she gave her, even though Eva knows 100% that Star just straight lied to her about having the idol. We'll call it the idol at this point. I know it's still in the cipher, but she knew the information. She knew that Star lied to her about the information, and she still tried. And I mean, good for her for trying, but at the same time, don't be dropping people's names with somebody that you don't trust.
Yeah.
You can find another way to try to put time into Star to build a bridge towards something.
Okay, let's go to villain corner now, because, you know, you mentioned Thomas, and first and foremost, Thomas, did you grow the mustache because you wanted to be a villain? Because that's a very villainous mustache. Number two, you get this information from Bianca, who's just like, okay, I need to trust somebody, so I'm going to tell him the truth about not getting this advantage. He's still keeping the information to himself, which I actually agree with at this point. It's like, if you have something, this is different than what happened with Justin, where it's like Justin knows he's going to tribal council. He knows there's not a lot of people voting. He doesn't have something. It's like, you got to say something if you're him. Thomas doesn't have to say anything at this point. Like, what's the point in him doing that?
Yeah, I just think that Thomas is just... he's being such a villain, and too many people are kind of picking up on it.
Yeah.
He's doing a good job with keeping some things secret and just gathering as much information as he can. And I do think that's going to take him further in the game. But at the same time, if he lets out too much villain, it's just going to bite him in the you-know-what at the end.
Yeah.
If he makes everybody look like a clown on their way out, he's going to end up at the end with no votes. Nobody wants to end up at the end of Survivor Survivor, Big Brother, whatever's going on, feeling like a clown. People will vote. They call it bitter jury. But at the same time, I understand. I'm not voting for somebody who's going to make me look like a clown. You can send me out, but I don't have to feel like a fool while I'm going out the door.
Why do you guys not want to vote for me? I got all the... You are getting into very close Russell Hantz there. You haven't burned anybody's socks yet, Thomas, but I do want you to stay around for a while because I think it's good for the show to have a villain. I'm not rooting for you. I do not want you to win, but I don't want you to go anytime soon. No. So the last thing I'll say here is, I forgot to mention this with the Siva tribe, but hats off to Camilla, who gets the advantage, but she's showing that she is adaptable. And adaptability, yes, your team Guyana, I know how much you love her.
I love Camilla.
It's really smart to just sort of go with the flow of your tribe and sort of gauge behavior, because obviously it's great to keep information to yourself, but if everybody else is telling the truth and being very honest, it's very hard to then hide something, because then if they find out that you're hiding something, then you stick out like a sore thumb amidst everybody else. So I think in her situation, it was the right move to do. Maybe not in a different situation, but you have to sort of go with the flow in this game.
Yeah, no, everything has been set in this tribe that people are being honest about stuff. If it had come out that she had not been honest, it's just going to burn her. She might as well tell the truth with this tribe. Other people have. It has worked out. I think she made the absolute right decision, just being like, this is what happened and this is how it played out and this is what I got.
Yeah, by far, this is the best episode of Survivor 48. Like, it's just an iconic tribal council, great things to discuss. I feel like we're all going to have a lot of arguments in the comments about who's playing a good game, and that's a good gauge of if Survivor is doing something right. You don't want, like, the winner to be obvious in episode 3, right?
Yeah, and I feel like this episode started to bring more people to the forefront of people that I'm like, yeah, I'm rooting for Dave not to win, but to win at life. And, I'm really enjoying watching Mary. I was already enjoying watching Say, but now I'm really enjoying watching the two of them and how much fun they're having on this show.
Yeah.
It really is making me root for them to both be at the end so that I can watch that back and forth because it's going to be iconic.
Jeff, rig the tribe swap. Keep Say and Mary on the same tribe. It's not as fun otherwise, but okay, let us know in the comments what you thought about this episode. Who do you think is playing the best? Who do you think is playing the worst? And also hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any more of our Survivor coverage. You can support us further by joining our Patreon. We have exclusive video coverage there of the pit. Legacy coming soon. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you here next time.